Hi, I'm RPB. Today, I'm meeting with Sir Paul Altman, and we're taking a look at the Jewish synagogue right here in the heart of Bridgetown.
Welcome to the synagogue, Doctor.
A pleasure.
And I understand you haven't been here before, so it really is an extra pleasure to show you something that you haven't seen, and something that I've seen more than many times.
Actually, I'm all excited because I've heard so much about it, yet right here in the heart of Bridgetown, I never had a chance to see in here, but there's so much history in here that I'm all excited.
Well, I am glad that you are, because I think that you're excited now, but you'll become more excited when you learn about the history of this place and the fact that it is one of the oldest buildings in Barbados. It goes back to 1654. Barbados was, by records, settled in 1627.
1627.
Let's walk into the synagogue. It is an incredible building, and it is also the oldest synagogue in the Western world.
Wow.
So it is older than any synagogue in the United States. It is older than any synagogue in England. And that is why it is so meaningful as a historic site, not only to people of the Jewish faith, but to people that recognize what history represents. And as we walk in, we take a look and we see something that is quite special. You get the feeling that you're in a religious, I would call it a shrine, like a church. I always say that when I walk into a church, I get that same feeling of being in somewhere that is more than just a beautiful space. It is something where people are married, where people get, in our religion, we get what we call a bar mitzvah, which is a coming of age. And the main thing that I like to point out is that the plaque that you see above what is known as the ark contains, as you will see, 5 Hebrew lines on one side and 5 on the other. And when you add them, they're 10, and that is the 10 Commandments.
The 10 Commandments, yes. And
for people that can't read Hebrew, I can read a little bit. There's a sign with all the 10 Commandments in English. And I always say that it's good to remind yourself that that is the basis for all the religions.
That's right. One thing I noticed, though, is that the seating is kind of special. Yeah. The fact that it seems as though it's set up for family. That whole feeling of togetherness, some facing each other. Yeah. It feels kind of warm and brotherly.
Well, I would explain that by saying that this is not the seating that was designated from the time it was first established, because religion changes, and in our religion, the Jewish religion, the oldest form of the religion is called the Orthodox. Those are the ones that are the pious people that were the basis for the religion. But over the years, the pious ones became a lot more, they changed with time, and they became conservative, and now they've become reformed. Right. So in the Orthodox part of the religion, the women sat upstairs. That doesn't happen anymore. Although there's a few people that still are very Orthodox, but I would say that 90+% of the Jewish people are not Orthodox. But when that was the only form of religion, remember 1654, that was the only form. So the women, and there are steps on the outside, so the women didn't even have to come in to go upstairs. And there are many stories about that, but the women were upstairs. But now everybody sits together, and
so service still goes on here. People still worship here every
Friday night.
Every Friday night. Yeah. Okay, great.
And for special religious holidays as well.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
And this is what is called the equivalent of a pulpit, but this is the reader's desk.
The reader's desk.
And in there are what we call the Torahs, the scrolls that have the Old Testament scrolls.
The Old Testament scrolls.
The 5 books of Moses. That is kept on the scrolls in that area that is known as the Ark. And when we restored this building, and I was involved and I led the restoration, in 1987 we finished this restoration. And when we finished the restoration, and when we were putting it together, we went into the Parliament buildings, because that was soon after that was built. Right. and the Parliament buildings had a similar signature in terms of architecture.
Okay.
So we had to look, for instance, if you look at the planks in the ceiling, there are of various widths.
Right.
Some are thicker, some are wider, some are narrower, and that is called random boards, random sizes.
Okay.
And we knew what was here from some old pictures, but then we walked into Parliament and it had the same random size board. They're little small things, you know. Yeah. And when we put it back, we put back the Barbados mahogany. We used that, so it's fascinating.
So what would be these names on the
Those are names of people who contributed to the restoration. Because when I came here in 1983, this building was nothing. It was all broken up. But we found photographs in the Shilston Library at the Barbados Museum, which allowed us to recreate it.
Nice. Right in the heart of Bridgetown, you can actually pass through Bridgetown and not recognize that this level of history exists right in the heart of Bridgetown.
Yeah, it is. I think it's fascinating. Yeah. And you know, little things like this, people say, well, what is that? You know, in those days, they didn't have paper money, they had coins. Right. So this was meant for people who wanted to give charity or wanted to make a contribution, and there was a box on the back. You just drop your coin in there. Everything has a story, you know, as you go through a place. Now this is called a laver, this marble piece. Right. And the original is at the entrance to the Barbados Museum, because when this building was sold in 1925, everything was removed. Okay. And a lot of it was sent to the Barbados Museum. Okay. So we had a replica made in Italy. So this is a traditional piece. It's not for drinking. It's for just washing your hands. And it is more of a ritual. When you come out of a graveyard, right, you are, by custom, you wash your hands to wash away the memories of pain, of sorrow, of losing people, and coming back into the... So, it's just a sort of an expression of moving on. Wow. And of course the graveyard is fascinating. Going with gravestones going back to the 1650s. And of course the names on there are many names that you see in Barbados. One of them is a barrow, and the first Prime Minister of Barbados had family buried, and he talked about it. His family was buried in here, so there was a lot of intermarriage and changing the name. The original name was a Hebrew name called Baruch, and then it became Barrow. Right. And of course, all of the other names, the Messiahs, the Biezas, the Mendozas, a lot of the Spanish Portuguese. These people were the ones that brought sugar to the island.
Already, I'm really shocked at the size of the burial space, based on the fact that when you drive around, you don't really recognize that there's so much space in here. Right. All these grounds are in here. This is fascinating.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating. And the Quakers were buried on the outside of that wall, and there's a Quaker grave that we uncovered right in the corner there. Wow. So there was a connection between the various religions, you know. And then we have another section of the burial ground over that side, so there are different areas.
A lot of
And this building was recreated
here.
Yes, because when we looked at the old plans, it showed that there was something here. So we had a student from the university, right, and he was given permission to come here and do a dig for archaeology. And when he came in, this is called a mikvah. It's a bath. Right. They didn't have running water in Bridgetown, but he found these people found a spring and built a bath here for their own use. Wow. If you come this way, when the student came in, he kind of was digging, and then he found these steps. So he went down these steps, and he dug down, watch your head. And as he came down, he found other steps, and he kept digging. And when he went down to the bottom of the steps, this is what he found. This is exactly what he found. And when he got down below water level, water started to spring up. Wow. And this is a natural spring, water spring. Wow. And in those little cubicles, they used to keep oil lamps or candles because they didn't have electricity. Right. And they didn't have running water in Bridgetown. Wow. So this was the water source for them to bathe. And bathing was a part of the religion. And you can see that the red line here is what was all original. Anything above the red line, we built on just to cover it.
Okay, I see what you're saying, yeah. Wow. Amazing. And it's this crystal clear water.
Yeah, and if you dip this water out, it fills right back up because it's a spring.
It's a natural spring.
It's a spring. And part of the tradition with this type of a bath is that it had to be moving water.
Right.
So moving water only happens if there's a spring.
If it's a spring, yeah.
That water, whenever we empty that out with a pump, it filled right back up. So what you're seeing there was built before 1654.
Whoa. Imagine.
Before 1654.
Wow.
I remember Barbados, the dates of Barbados. So this is almost from the start of this island, that was there.
Right. Amazing, amazing. Because if we were settled in, as they say, in 1627,
yes,
you know, very soon after, this would have been done.
Exactly. So my contention is that this was not two people that did this. So if you settled in 1627, the people that were among the first settlers were these people, the Spanish and Portuguese.
Exactly.
And you know, Barbados, the original name was a Portuguese name.
It was a Portuguese name.
Los Barbados, or the bearded ones is the translation.
Yeah. That's right.
And all of these people had beards. So you work it out. You work it out. That's a calypso in itself.
Truly.
The bearded ones, that's the one.
This is fascinating. Right in the heart of Bridgetown.
And this building, we believe, was the school.
Look at this. Yeah. Look at this. Take a shot of this. Wow. From driving on the road, you will never believe that there's so much going on here.
Yep. And what we are going to do is welcome you now to the museum. Now, when we built the museum, we put a new building inside of the existing walls. These are the old walls. And we decided that we were going to tell that story of these people.
Right.
So the story is told in here. It will take you. You can spend a half a day looking at it, or you could just do the quick walkthrough, and I'll do a quick, the 5-minute tour with you. Hello, you can stay. Nice to see you.
Okay.
So basically, the story is how the people came to Barbados and who they were, and they were coming from Recife, Dutch, and involved with sugar and the full technology of sugar.
Right.
And then the full story of this place is remember who we were. We were slaves in Egypt.
Right.
And you know, when people talk to me about slavery, I said, well, you know, my people were slaves.
Right.
And I told Sir Hilary at the university, I said, Sir Hilary, you know, you can talk straight to me because my people were slaves. And, you know, and you never forget. That's why I said remember.
Right, remember.
You got it, you know, but we take that memory of the leaving of Egypt.
Our school children get a chance to come and see this.
Yeah, we have school tours. We invite schools to come through. You know, the story with the Holocaust, my mother was the only survivor in her family. She lost her twin sister, her other sister, her parents, her uncles, her aunts, her friends, her family. She was the only survivor.
Yeah.
And then you come in here, and this tells you the story about what these people were all about. And and the story is all about spices. Spices in this day and age were the equivalent of oil and gold and technology in today's age. Come. So this is a picture. If you look here, you'll see Barbados. And you see the careenage there going in.
Right.
So this is an old picture showing Barbados with North Point down there.
Right.
It's kind of foreshortened, but you get a feeling of Barbados.
Right.
And we found this,
wow.
And put it up there. And then, of course, here we have 2 screens that tell that full story of who these people were. It's fascinating. And you can walk on this glass. This glass is meant to jump on and walk on.
It's thick glass, yeah.
Very thick. You can't break this.
Yeah.
But the full story of spice, and spice being a commodity, and that's where sugar came in. Sugar was the money that was made was from sugar, and the technology, the windmill.
Windmill, yeah.
And these were the people that brought this to Barbados from South America.
Wow.
And here, you know, we call this an interactive museum.
Right.
So if you wanted to, so we invite, and especially for young people, and even for me, every time I get fascinated, I do this.
And you can actually smell it.
You can smell it?
Yeah.
Okay, but what do you think that is? I can let you cheat.
Yeah, I smell the cinnamon, yeah. Yeah.
You see, we found all of these pieces of porcelain. Barbados was a transshipment point for fine china between England and the United States. And if you dig up anywhere in Bridgetown, you'll find pieces of china.
Wow.
And we have boxes and boxes. We found the old pipes, clay pipes. These are all clay pipes. We find all of these things when you dig in the ground around Bridgetown.
Around Bridgetown.
Yeah, ink wells.
Whoa.
And here, again, they didn't have electricity. These were the original lamps that were on the what we call the pulpit or the reader's desk.
Whoa.
This was a ceremonial, the Festival of Lights, which Christmas is a part of, where you would, in the Bible they talk about oil that was only there that could last for a certain number of days. And we like that in memory. It's called a Hanukkah, or Hanukkah is the equivalent of Christmas.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And this little fellow here is 2,000 years old, this piece of pottery.
Imagine. 2,000 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you imagine that?
Yeah. But you get a feeling of something special.
Yeah, this is very special. This is important to document so that our people for generations can see where we actually came from. All that went on in Barbados in the early days.
Yeah.
Let people know that we didn't start from the 80s and the 70s, but there's so much that went on in Barbados.
You see, and here you talk about, well, you know, there was discrimination and then there was discrimination. So the Jews had a level of discrimination against them because they weren't allowed to vote, and they were given the right to vote in Barbados before they were given the right to vote in England. And you know, and all of the connections with slavery and connections, and you know, as I said, we ourselves come out of that.
Yeah. This is great history.
It's a lot of history here. Now, this is the most holy thing. This is the 5 books of Moses. This is the Old Testament.
Right.
If you open that all out, that is the Old Testament. You roll from one on to the other and keep reading. Now, the Bible, which is the Old Testament, which is this scroll, this is the Bible, this is the Old Testament. Of course, there's the New Testament and the Old. This is the Old Testament.
Right.
Is written in Hebrew by someone who is called a scribe.
A scribe, yes.
And this is written all by hand. This full
This is written by hand?
document is written by hand.
Whoa.
And some people spend their life just writing one of these documents.
Whoa.
This takes forever. And if you make a mistake, you have to remove it and start again. You can't patch it. The way that the story goes is that if you write the Bible, if you do a Torah, nothing in there has to be corrected. You have to take your time and write it correct. If you make a mistake, that section comes out, you can do it again. You can't go over it. This is a light that keeps burning, which is called an eternal light. This is the reader's desk, which is called the reading desk, or the Bima.
Also, it actually lights up the area.
So you can find out where you are, you know, the seating, the ark, that should be in there.
Right.
And so on, you know. Type your name in, it will be here forever.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, you need to put my name in here then.
Put your name in there, man. You're in there forever.
Nice. I love it. My name is there forever in the Jewish synagogue in the heart of Bridgetown, Barbados.
And then you can see, if I told you 1654, you can see Jamaica, 1787. The oldest in the United States. This is the oldest, 1763, nearly 100 years later.
Right.
This is a visitor's book in the synagogue, and we keep it here by year. And you can open it up this way and turn the pages. So if you want to check to see if you were here on a certain date,
check 1652, see who was there.
This is not the old one. This is 19.
Okay.
We only started the book in 1996, and the first person that signed the book was my mother, my late mother. Proud to initiate this book.
Brilliant.
And upstairs here we have a area for students to study. So if someone doing archaeology or whatever,
yeah, I can actually go in. Nice.
And then we have a oral history room where we take people, and if anybody wants to come up and watch what some of the older people who are no longer around.
I really want my children to see this because we don't actually document a lot of the stuff that we have here the way we should.
But I'm fascinated that you're doing it, and I'm not only fascinated, but I'm touched that you are interested as you are, and I wouldn't expect different. But they're not. Not everyone would show your level of appreciation.
This is something that we all should feel special about, because the fact that is the oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere.
Right.
The fact that it holds such history.
And there are Barbadian connections. Right. Like I said, our first Prime Minister, his family came from in here, and so many other Barbadians.
Right. I'm big on our children and generations to know
the part of the history.
Where we came from, and how we get where we are. I mean, we didn't just arrive here. No. So a lot went on, and for us to be able to have this still is an amazing thing.
And I will tell you one more thing, and that is that I may have done certain things in my life, but there will never be anything in my life that will ever be as meaningful to me as having done this. Because if I didn't do it, it would have been torn down and this would have been gone.
Yeah, I can understand that, because you're preserving a crucial part
of the Jewish history, but of Barbadian history, which is huge.
It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge.
And I'm going to show you something here. You see the theme I told you, remember? The Hebrew word for remember is called yitzker, and you can trust me that that's what that says. But I copied this, and I would like you to read it slowly to yourself, or aloud, whatever. You read that. In other words, they keep coming for people, and if it isn't you, you don't say anything.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But when they come for you, there's nobody left.
Yeah, when it gets to you, then there's nobody left.
And this is a Christian priest that wrote this.
Right.
So you don't have to be Jewish to fit my. I chose this and put it here.
Right.
I saw this in Boston in a memorial, and I had it copied.
That's powerful.
The
time will come
if you don't do anything, they will get you.
Yeah, they will get you.
You can't stand by and let somebody else be abused.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I don't care if it doesn't.
You need to speak up.
You have to speak up.
You need to speak up. Yeah. So y'all would have restored a lot of this.
Well, all of this was put in here. This was only this yard, and that was done for '87. That was done for about 10 years later, or 15 years later. When this was done at that time. And then we did this only about 8 years ago. This is a social hall, that's all that is.
Right.
If you have a function.
In function, you could do stuff in here.
And then on the outside, we did everything else all around. We did the monument out there.
Right.
It's called the Emancipation Monument.
Right.
The one with the circle?
Okay, yeah.
Because that's where the Emancipation Bill was signed. There was a building there that was knocked down.
Okay.
Before they knocked this down, they knocked down that, the same Tom Adams government. They didn't know what they were knocking down.
Whoa.
So I said I'm going to put back a monument to show where that bill was signed. And I put that Emancipation Monument. And then the building on the out over there is the old original Bridgetown fire station. And we have a fire museum in there. I built a museum. If you go in there, you'll tell the full story of the fire service in Barbados.
So, Sir Paul, I want to thank you for giving me a wonderful tour of this magnificent synagogue. I believe that is a place where Barbadians should really come and see a crucial part of our history. I feel quite honored to be shown around here by you, Sir Paul. Of course, you know how things are with us. And the fact that all this is going on right here in the heart of Bridgetown is fascinating. And I think that in my mind now, it has lifted how I feel about Bridgetown as a whole. Because I love Bridgetown, I love Barbados, I'm a true Barbadian at heart. And to know that this actually exists here, to me, lifts my spirit even more as it relates to Bridgetown. This is a crucial part of our history. Pleasure.
Well, I take off the mask and say RPB, Dr. RPB. Yeah. It was an honor and a pleasure for me to show you around. We know each other, but you know, we always can expand on knowing each other. And this was an expansion and a real honor and a pleasure. And I thank you for coming.
Pleasure. So Barbadians, you have it. Come to the Jewish Synagogue right here in the heart of Bridgetown and see a crucial part of our history, very important part of our history. It is absolutely magnificent. Thank you.